Hello and welcome to the Feel Freaking Amazing podcast. Wendy Trudeau, star sighting Ed Levitan. I know he hates when I say that, but he's never here. He's here today. And today we have a really cool guest. We have Dr. Edwin Lee. He's an endocrinologist, author, international speaker, and the founder of Institute for Hormone Balance in Florida in 2008. He's board certified in internal medicine, endocrinology, diabetes, metabolism, and has completed special training in regenerative and functional medicine. He is a co-founder of Clinical Peptide Safety and also started a not-for-profit organization and is the author of many books. And the latest one is The Fountain of Youth with Peptides. And just as a disclaimer, this is not medical advice today. This is simply opinions. Take it as you will and consult your doctor. So Dr. Lee, welcome. We're so excited to have you here today.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
So I want to just start by,
This is Ed's podcast today.
I'm a fanboy, so I really admire your work and all the things that you've done and contributed to forward this medicine. So I'm super excited to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on
thanks.
board. It's really awesome.
So we're going to talk about peptides today. So I guess my biggest question is, how'd you get into them? Like, what was that moment where you went, oh, this is really cool and really effective?
Well, peptides are interesting. I mean, most doctors don't even know that they're using peptides. Like insulin was classified as a peptide, and most doctors never even thought of insulin being a peptide. But the FDA in around 2020 kind of changed the definition of peptides. So it's generally under 40 amino acids, but so peptides is a small little protein that are really amazing. They can turn on your body to self-heal and to make you younger, to turn on fibroblast cells, to make more collagen, to help your immune system. So there are many, there are many amazing effects that peptides do. There's not one peptide does it all. So there are peptides for beauty, peptide for hair, peptide for better mojo, better, libido. We could talk about that. And there's peptides in terms of immune system. So, and unfortunately, the FDA is making it more difficult. So if you can go to, I don't know if you have that, there's that link that maybe you can share it with your,
we can put everything in the show notes so people can find it.
Our QR code, but if you go to clinicalpeptidesociety.com or savepeptides.org, there is a link to basically just save peptides. Just basically, it's a petition, which I founded. So we have over 8,000 signatures. We're close to 10,000. I started this like 5 years ago, so I don't know when we'll hit 10,000, but we hit 8,000 like 2 days ago. So I'm super excited.
Congratulations.
Well, we'll make it definitely 8,002.
Right. Well, let's tell people the value. First, let's show them the value, and then we can ask them to save them. So let's dive in. So we've been using them for years, but what was that moment for you? Do you remember it when you just kind of the light bulb went off?
I did go to a conference and can't remember exactly if it was in Vegas, but I did get to hear something about peptides. I remember this one guy from Australia. He came and he said he was the king of peptides. And I had no idea what he was talking about. It was like blah, 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 blah. But I was so fascinated he had so much energy and he was so passionate about it that I decided to do some of my own research and maybe start with 1 or 2 peptides. And I would say that was like 8-9 years ago, my journey. Can't remember exactly when, but that's, you learn from someone, and that's how I went. So, and then I wrote a book on the fountain of life with peptides, the fountain of youth with peptides. So you have my book, right?
Yeah. We bought it when it came out. It was 2-3 years ago, I think, right? It came out, maybe a little longer now.
Yeah, I think, it's about 4 years ago. Yeah, 2000 it was published. Yeah.
So talk to me about how do peptides I know people talk about peptides for lots of things, but what our listeners really care about is feel freaking amazing, live long, live well, and don't get all the stuff that all their friends are getting. Like, let's avert cancer, Alzheimer's, heart disease, degenerative diseases. Let's avert all that stuff. So how do peptides play a role in that?
Well, the first peptide that I teach a lot of my healthcare providers to start off, and this is very simple. If you want to look younger, you want more collagen, and you want to basically help your dermis of your skin to get thicker, is GHK copper, and it's a topical cream. You can it's used in like probably over 100 different cosmeceuticals sold like at Neiman Marcus and other stores, but they only have a small percentage of GHK copper. But what's amazing is that you can put GHK copper on your thigh, and before you put it on, they did a study. They biopsy the thigh to see how much collagen there is, and then 1 month later, after applying it, a cream to the thigh, it actually increased collagen by 70%. 70.
And does that make my thigh, hypothetically speaking, look less fatty? Or what does that do for me as the end user?
I mean, the GHK copper that I use all the time, and I'm in the Florida heat and sun, and I don't use even sunscreen, but I abuse my skin a lot. I mean, I know I'm out there on the water, sun is reflecting, and I use GHK copper religiously. I just use 2 or 3 pumps every morning, and my wife uses it too. So I like our GHK copper that we have. I use a compound pharmacy that formulates it, and so it's anyway. It's a topical thing that if you want to use a systemic, then you have to do injection for your whole body, but that's a little hard to get because the FDA is restricting that. But a lot of my patients who've used it, they say, "OMG, my body's like getting younger." So, and I used it on my father who had cancer. And so he passed away a year ago, but it actually turns out it turns off cancer genes. So it's really amazing. MIT and Harvard did a study called the connectivity study, and they want to see out of 1,300 different molecules, which one was the best in terms of turning on your protective genes and turning off your cancer genes. And the number one was GHK. And GHK is actually natural. So when you have collagen and your collagen breaks down, it's GHK. So GHK is a peptide, 3 amino acid peptide. It turns on your fibroblasts to basically make more collagen, and it helps that dermis to get thicker. The thing is that as we get older, we have less GHK. So as you get older, you need to balance your hormones, and we call that hormone replacement therapy. Now we have peptide replacement therapy because your immune system goes off, your skin goes off, everything goes off. So that's the whole thing is we're just replacing some of these peptides that naturally are higher, like oxytocin. A lot of women have issues with anxiety, and oxytocin is the oldest peptide out there. It helps women contract, but oxytocin can calm you down. So that is a beautiful peptide.
Let's go back to the GHK for a minute. Is there anything you recommend? Sorry, asking for a friend, hypothetically speaking. What would one
nerves were
what kind of base would one put it in for? Does it need a particular base for absorption, optimal absorption, or is it really anything?
No, it's usually the compound pharmacy has a certain formula, so I'm not really good with their bases. So, but we use like 5 milligram per gram of GHK copper. So that's usually a higher dose than you'll see sold, usually 2 milligrams, but we use 5 milligrams per gram, and we sell this all day in my office. People just buy it. I mean, we've had the cheapest looking label on the bottle, and people still buy it because it's people just love it. It helps like my wife tried it, and for like she's the guinea pig of many things I do for her. And I think one time she was just tired of like, I got something new, honey. You want to try it? And she didn't try it. So I was kind of waiting for her to try it, but I had all my women patients. I go, hey, this is going to make you looking younger. And they go, oh, Dr. Lee, I want to try it. So they're just buying it left and right. And just, it's just like, we don't have to say anything. They just continue to, they just love it. And so eventually, it's like 6 months later, my wife goes, do you remember this thing that you asked me to try? And I go, I don't remember. She goes, I love it. And like, I haven't heard the word love like for 20 plus years. So it's like,
Wait, Ed, we love you. You are loved, and so is GHK, apparently.
yes. So I said, so what do you love about? And she goes, my pores got tighter. And that's a woman's talk. I mean, guys don't know what pores mean. So I had to ask my women patients, go, what does that mean? And they go, come on, Dr. Lee, you're a doctor. And it took me a while to figure this out. But anyway, it's like a code for, anyway, I don't pay attention of my pores, my skin. But anyway, so she liked that. Her pores got tighter. And so
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
What about wrinkles?
Yes, it
And
reduces wrinkles. Yes. But it's not like Botox. This really helps the inside, inner beauty. You have 3 layers of the skin, so it really helps the middle part, we call the dermis. And as the dermis gets weaker, that's when the skin sags and you get wrinkles. So if you build up that dermis, it's, your skin will look better and you'll have less wrinkles. Now, if you have a super deep wrinkle, it may be less, but it's not going to be like Botox where it just dissolves.
Mhm.
Right.
So
what are other things for, let's say, middle-aged people?
Asking for friends. We have lots of friends, you know. We do the podcast for ourselves, and then like it helps contribute to people. So, so what are your other favorite things? So the GHK is one. Everybody wants to lose weight, so there's the peptides for weight loss. What about hair growth, brain health? Like, talk to me about all that stuff. Talk to us.
this is going to be a long podcast. So I actually wrote a book on all these peptides. So chapter 2, I talk about hair growth. So anyway, but
go read the book. Read the book.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get the paperback book, people can call my office, say, hey, they listen to the podcast. We'll give you the special price of basically $20, like 50% off. It's retail $39.99, so you can get it for $20. And then you pay for shipping. And we only ship in the US. So if you're in Canada or Mexico or Europe, we don't ship outside.
We're out of luck.
You're going to get the peptide SOL.
Yeah, but you can get it on Amazon, the electronic version, the ebook version, so you can get that. So some people like the electronic version, but the peptide that I really love is the number one peptide that I love is Epithalon. It has tons of data. Epithalon comes from our pineal gland, and so it looks like a pine cone, and it's for a long time people thought that was the window for spiritual health or for spiritual world. But the pineal gland secretes melatonin and also epithalon. And epithalon helps with we call cell cycle. So if your old skin dies off, you can generate a new skin cell, but also you can generate other parts like new muscle cells, and you can generate, believe it or not, just new liver cells or kidney cells or pancreatic cells. So the problem is that as we get older, our cells kind of get stuck and they cannot self-replicate, whereas epithalon kind of kickstarts it so that you can get a new cell, a new kidney cell, hopefully a new pancreatic cell. So I have some people with mild kidney failure, or they're having problems with their like type 2 diabetes, and some people even get off their insulin. Not type 1s, but they're type 2 diabetics. And I've seen people, their kidney function gets better. And I have people with their pancreatic function gets better, their back of the eyes get better. It doesn't make everything better, but a lot of things get better. So epithalon is critical. If you can do it 2 times a year, it's phenomenal.
Is there any risk of promoting a cancer cell growing if there's already one growing, if you're regenerating things?
I actually gave Epithalon to my father too, because he had a very aggressive cancer. So he died a year ago. And a year prior to that, he was in the hospital with a small bowel obstruction, and he had a basically it's a let's see, it was a lymphoma, small bowel T cell lymphoma, very, very rare cancer. The oncologist goes, this is like the rarest of all these cancers. So my dad had this rare blood cancer obstructing his bowel. He had surgery to basically open up the obstruction, and they told him there was nothing we can do. You have really a month to live. Chemo will not work, radiation won't work. So I brought all these peptides to him, and I said, Dad, I'm going to give you Epithalon and also some other peptides there. And my dad was stoic. He goes, save it for your patients. I don't need it. And I goes, too late. I already drew it up, and Mom's going to inject you. So anyway, he cannot say no to my mom. So anyway, so my mom injected him, and within a month, he went from a wheelchair to basically walking, and then eventually he was able to walk a mile a day. He regained all his weight. He basically had 8 months of great life, and you could see the cancer growing. But the thing is that Epithalon has been shown to turn off the genes in certain colon cancer. So Epithalon is also is really interesting. It's actually turns off not all the cancer genes, but can turn off a lot of different cancer genes. So that's been studied in animal studies. So anyway, if this would happen again, yeah, I would basically do the same thing, be very aggressive. There are certain peptides for cancer, and there are certain peptides for regenerative purposes. So I wouldn't give the regenerative peptides for people with cancer. That will make them grow. So Epithalon, actually, anyway, I think it helped him.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I have a patient that is otherwise healthy, about 50-year-old patient that has his kidneys creatines up. You're saying that that's something that potentially Epithalon can make a difference with.
Yeah, if they have, there's a couple of things with early kidney failure. I would use a special probiotic, and it's called Renadil, Renadyl. And it's a probiotic that eats up extra nitrogen waste. So when you have too much protein is bad for kidney failure. And people just like when you're in dialysis, they limit your protein intake. But with early kidney failure, there's two things: is that you need something to get rid of that extra nitrogen waste. So I see people's creatinine improve with Renadil, so Renadyl. I would recommend go to the specific website that sells it, not on Amazon. There's a lot of copycats on that. And the second thing is I recommend sodium bicarb, because when you get older, your muscles and your bones buffer the extra acid. So when you have an acidic diet, if you lose that buffering zone, then your kidneys get a hit. So take sodium bicarb, like 500 milligrams a day. You can go even higher to 1,000 milligrams, or 500 twice a day. That can help protect the kidneys there. And then the third thing is I would use Epithalon, and I like to use, if you can get the injection, 5 milligrams sub-Q daily for 10 days in a row, and repeat every 6 months. But people with really bad kidney disease, I actually do that more aggressively, like every 2 months, just until the kidneys get better, and then space it out. So,
do you recommend those people go on a plant-based diet to minimize their animal proteins if the protein's so toxic for the kidneys?
Yes, but not many people want to. That's a big change for a lot of people. So I say try to reduce your protein intake if you can, but if you be more plant-based, but I can't push them to be all plant-based, because that's a little too radical for them. But if they eat a little less and a little less animal protein, more on plants, that's actually healthier and more healthy fats. That's healthy for the kidneys.
And what would your third favorite peptide be? I feel like this is picking children, what's your first and your second favorite child?
No
All
problem.
of ours are our favorites, just for the record.
So the one that I'm really I'm going to go to the FDA, I think December 4th. I have to get my plane ticket to fly to DC. Anyway, it presents the safety and efficacy data on TA1. So I published a study early this year it's called the Comprehensive Review on the Safety and Efficacy in Humans in Clinical Trials with thymosin alpha-1. So I tabulated over 11,000 patients in clinical trials around the world on TA1. It was absolutely safe. So I don't think they've seen this data. That's why I want to go out there to present it. But the thymus gland actually shrivels up. So there's two peptides or a couple of peptides from the thymus gland. One's thymosin alpha-1, the other one's thymosin beta-4. So they work differently. But thymosin alpha-1 for the immune system, thymosin beta-4, it's for a couple of things. It reduces inflammation, but also helps with the neurons with myelination. But the thymosin alpha-1, I really think it's phenomenal for the immune system. So if my wife ever gets sick, she gets like a sore throat. I remember she goes, I took everything. I took the silver, I gargled with silver, I took the zinc, a C, the D. She goes, do you have something stronger? Because she felt like I'm going to come down. And if she gets sick, I remember my kids growing up, it's a nightmare because I don't know how to take care of the kids. I don't know if they need lunch money or if they have to take them to soccer practice. Although I was a soccer coach for 10 years, so I did know their soccer schedule because I just set that up. But I remember once I said, do you need lunch money? And they both said, yeah. And so I gave them money. And then later my wife goes, I paid for the whole year.
Nice.
Anyway,
Both those peptides, though, have been banned, right, by the FDA. Is that correct?
Well, it's still like when you say ban, yes, both have. I think we can save TA1. And the alternative is TA11, which is actually a 34 amino acid peptide. But I think it's category 2, meaning there's not enough safety data and they want to review that. If it gets to category 1 for the 503A compound pharmacy, then they can compound it legitimately. So they can do it all day long.
So what's the second one that's not okay? So TA1 is right now restricted. What's the other restricted one?
Thymosin beta-4, TB.
Thank you. Okay.
It's because it's over 40 amino acid, and they basically said anything over 40 is a biologic, so you need a biological license to produce it. So, but anyway, so there are a couple places that are giving out, not giving out, but anyway, that does thymosin beta-4, even though they know it's on the ban list, but they're just still making it.
So talk to me about when we go to compounding pharmacies, but people who are listening who may not be patients of ours or yours, if they want to use peptides, what should they be looking for, and how do they access it in a way that's clean? Because I would totally agree with you not to go to. Look, we joke in our home that Jeff Bezos is my boyfriend and he sends me everything I want, because anything I need, I just go to Amazon, I buy it and I get it, right? But not supplements, because they have not temperature controlled warehouses. There's a lot of knockoffs. A lot of the products have been found to be fake. So obviously not Amazon, but where do people go for peptides if they want them?
Well, first of all, I know a lot of people shop, which I tell all the doctors that I train, do not go to for research purpose only. Like on the website, there's Peptide Science, and they look great and legit, but it's for research purpose only. I mean, for a doctor, they can lose their license if someone dies. There's no one can protect them because it says for research purposes only 1 million times before you purchase it. So you don't know what's in it. And I've heard stories that people have checked the substance and it's totally different what they got. So that's the wild, wild west. So anyway, if you go to a Clinical Peptide Society, you can see people who've passed the certification test. And we have basically, I think, every state. So you just click on that and you'll find hopefully one that is close by, and you can actually contact them and get established and get peptides legitimately through a compound pharmacy. So I do have two nurse practitioners, but one's really into peptides a lot. She's helped publish a lot of studies with me, and her name's Morgan Burns. And she's kind of really, she's into wellness, and she knows how to balance hormones. And so if you call my office, I'm basically closed my office seeing new patients. I mean, it's just, I just can't see any new ones, but Morgan can. So anyway.
Are there any other safety considerations people should think about when they're taking peptides? Or when...
there are a few side effects, like the growth hormone peptides, generally in class, maybe 5 to 10% has a rash to it. Or some of them you flush or something like that, but they're not any severe adverse effect like heart disease or stroke and like that. But it's generally very well tolerated. I'm collecting numbers, and I think honestly, there's over 1 million peptides prescribed in certain peptides over the past 5, 6, 7 years, and it's been generally relatively safe. You may have some minor side effect like injection site rashes or overall, I mean, later get, a bigger rash or something like that, or itchiness, but it's only very well tolerated. But the growth hormone peptides tend to have issues.
If people get rashes, is that an indication to stop, or is it okay?
Yes, they're becoming allergic to it, so you have to stop it.
Okay.
It's their immune system don't like it, so it's just going to get worse. So
there's more. I know, like some of the growth hormone, like the ipamorelin CJC, the FDA has recommended not continuing.
Yeah, so we're going on end of October to the FDA to debate about or discuss about ipamorelin, and also kisspeptin 10 and I think AOD are the 3 peptides, and then there's hydroxyprogesterone and some amino acids going to be talked about. So, but I'm personally, I'm on this task force to kind of say peptides. Mine too is TA1, the other one's ARA 290. So
I've had some really good success with the ARA.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
It's been actually, for some people, besides the price point, it's been really amazing.
Oh yeah.
The neuropathy.
Yep, exactly.
I have a question. It is a really unpopular question. It's not political. I just want to understand, why does every peptide name have the worst name and is not memorable and seems to me have no relationship to what it does? Why? Why are they named the way they're named?
Science.
Yeah.
It's just so.
Is that what I'm like? Why is it called that?
Yeah, it's like pharmaceutical, that you have a generic name and a brand name, and most of the pharmaceutical names are terrible, especially if it starts like Q and then there's a V and a W in it. So I don't even know how to pronounce 90% of the new drugs out there. But anyway, it's I have no idea. It's just nomenclatures and the numbers. It always has the numbers. So usually the numbers like BPC 157, the 15 is 15, so it's 15 amino acid. I still don't know what 7 stands for, but anyway, some scientists figures the 7 stood for something. So, but it doesn't always work out that way, these numbers, and it's weird, but it's a cool thing. Once you learn it, then you could sound cool. So it's like medical school, you learn new words, and so you sound like you're educated. But anyway, so it is what it is.
Should we talk about BPC 157 just because it's so popular, and we use the oral? Oral is still easy to get.
Yes, that's another favorite peptide of mine. You can get that. It's not on the chopping block there. It's the injectable one. So BPC 157 oral. I just started my wife on that yesterday with KPV. She has a little gastritis, so it's going to help with tighten the LES junction so she doesn't get reflux, but it also can help heal ulcers. And then the KPV is, we have a peptide that's together. So 2 peptides for the price of 1. KPV, not many people know about that, but it's a derivative of another peptide called alpha MSH, but KPV really reduces inflammation, and it's great for the gut. So those 2 are like, if you have people with gut issues, those 2 combined in 1 peptide, same price of 1, is amazing to help the gut heal.
We have the only BPC, right? It's not K. So is this something you would compound? Or
No, I get it from a company that only sells to doctors, but it's called Healthgevity, and they have the BPC. They usually
that's what's his name. So.
Yeah. Michael
James?
Miller. Michael and
Oh,
Michael
yeah.
Miller. It sounds like he owns the cheese factory.
But it's not injection. It's
No.
oral.
No, it's oral, but they do have BPC injection, and KPV can be injected.
Oh, I
Okay.
thought BPC injections were outlawed like a year
Well,
ago.
it's I'm actually I just got approval for publication. I just had to make some minor edits, and then once I do that, they review it, and then it will be published. But I have other studies that I've IRB approved, and so the one study that's almost ready to be published is I've been waiting for the longest time, is interstitial cystitis.
Mm.
Oh,
So women with a lot of basically bladder pain, failing over a year on pentosin polysulfate, the FDA-approved drug for interstitial cystitis. So I have a friend who is a urogynecologist, and he decided to basically inject BPC through the, basically he scopes in the bladder, sees area inflammation, injects around it, in it, and then he collected the data. So it's amazing. So there was, I can't remember exact numbers because I'm working with so many different studies, but this was like 10 out of 12 had significant improvement after the 1 treatment. And the other 2 basically had like 50% or more improvement. So they're asking for a second treatment. So basically, this is like revolutionary. It's like, you don't need to have surgery. And so this is a great option. So people, if you want BPC, sign the petition. I need donations too, but anyway, just sign the petition and that'd be great. I have other studies. I did like almost like a phase 1 study, IRB approved, escalating dose of BPC IV. And I have a medical, he's not even a medical student, a pre-med student. And he wants to get a medical school. So so I said, okay, I want you to write this and this and this. And so he's helping me write this, but in my head's already done. I just waiting for him to finish it, some parts of it. And so we're going to submit it for publication. And then I have 2 other studies, another IRB approved study on BPC for after knee surgery and shoulder surgery. So if they're doing laparoscopically, at the very end, they get randomized. So the patient doesn't know if they're going to get it or not, but half the group gets at the very end BPC just before closure. The other half just gets saline, and they're going to follow it like 1 month, 3 months, and 4 months or whatever. And we'll see the 2 groups who recovers
That's awesome.
fast.
what do you use the IV BPC? I haven't heard of that.
Oh, for pain.
Just for pain.
Oh yeah, back pain, just any type of pain. So it really,
Interesting.
yeah. So yeah.
That's
And
very
then
cool.
I have another study that it's almost IRB approved. So this morning I had a meeting, and it is going to be people who inject. I'm going to have, if you're a clinic that does a lot of injections, so if you do a lot of injections, you may be in the study. So you can be a center for it. So if you get the BPC, and there's upper extremity, lower extremity. So we do intra-articular injections or trigger point injection, and then you basically record, where you injected and where you got the compounded BPC, and how much you injected and all that. And then the patient actually does the safety and efficacy. So there's an app that they do, and this is what the FDA wants. They don't want the doctor to say, oh yeah, it was 100% safe, there was no side effects. They don't care about that. They want to hear from the patient. So the patient actually does it like before injection, 2 weeks later, a month later. So they self-grade, and basically that's what the FDA wants. So this is the registry site, so it's been taking almost a year to get the study approved, because it's been taking a long time. But once it's out, hopefully we can do this study, collect some data, and then show the FDA, hey, this is safe and it works. So I have another study too. I don't want to bother, but
awesome. That's amazing. I mean, that you're spending so much time in
it's a full-time job just to do all this. So,
absolutely.
And then go on podcast, and then it's fun.
I was going to say something about a wife, and that's okay.
A wise man once said nothing. There we go.
Yeah, better to not say.
Man, this is amazing. So where do people find out more? Is it, do they go to the clinical?
You can go
Peptide
clinicalpeptidesociety.com or savepeptides.org. Everyone they go to savepeptides.com, and I don't know where that goes to, but savepeptides.org to sign the petition. And anyway, it's great to have, if the patient who used the peptide can put a comment. There's some doctors who write comments, or there's patients who write comments. So the two comments are kind of classical. One is peptide saved my life, and second thing is the FDA, screw the FDA. So it's because I've been reading it once a month, and it's the same thing. It's like,
that's not going to be necessarily helpful, but okay.
I want the FDA to save the peptides. It's not they're just saying there's not enough safety and efficacy, and that's my job. I'm trying to publish some data to save BPC and TA1, and also A290. And so I'm my wife goes, why are you doing this? And it's like, it's a lot of work and effort, but if we can continue to use it, it's to me, and in your practice and my practice and people who use peptides, it's amazing. To me, I call it the Wolverine peptide. People recover quickly. Now, some people do need surgery after, it doesn't work 100%, but some people, like my mother, torn meniscus, she doesn't need surgery. So
with BPC 157?
Yeah.
Wow.
My mother she's 82. She's now a peptide addict.
A junkie.
Now, do you have to do it intra-articular, or can you just do it subcutaneously?
It's better intra-articular for the joint, but this time I cannot fly to Pennsylvania because my mother lives in Pennsylvania, I'm in Florida, and it's like every weekend, like 2 weeks ago I was in Boston, and next week I was in Tampa, and then next week I'm in Puerto Rico. So I just mailed BPC 157 to my mom. So I had to do with the phone, FaceTime to teach her how to draw it up. And my mom's 82, so the phone is looking at the ceiling, kitchen ceiling. I go, Mom, I can't see it. Then I see the just top of her head, and it's not easy to teach your parents how to use FaceTime or the computer.
I think Zoom would be better, right? You just say, Mom, go to your email. I sent you a link.
She doesn't even do email. She doesn't even do emails.
No email. Okay.
So
she's old school, man.
She's very old school. So, but anyway, she has been doing just sub-Q, and it has helped her. So it's like, thank you, because I am booked. I am solidly booked. I feel bad I can't fly to. So I said, why don't you fly here? But anyway, we'll see. That's the second option is, I'll fly her here, and so I can inject her.
We said we wouldn't talk about politics, and I think parental relationships does skew into the realm of politics, Ed.
Oh yeah, how does that work?
Managing aging parents is a political conversation.
Oh, it's not.
All right.
But yeah,
Um,
we do, you try to help your parents as best as you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah,
Of course.
Dr. Lee, I just want to really again thank you. Like you've been not only a pioneer, but you've all the time and effort and energy you put into
Yeah.
helping the rest of us practice and provide good medicine and really make a difference for people that are cross our paths in our lives. And it's truly a pleasure to meet you. It's an honor to have you on our podcast, and we definitely
Well,
will
thank you.
want you back.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you for this time, and I appreciate that you can spread the word on signing the petition. So if you can put that on the back end, that'd be great.
100%.
Yeah, we definitely will. So, Dr. Lee, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Feel Freaking Amazing podcast. We'll put all the links in the show notes. And for the listeners, this stuff works. Go try it. Well, with your doctor.
Yes.